So how was that first couple of weeks like?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it's a bit scary that you have to make it happen. It's on you. And I did have a little bit of savings put aside because nothing is guaranteed. The only guarantee that I've had with gyms is the opportunity. But I'd say the first couple of weeks, first week was pretty casual is probably what I'd describe. The second week, there was a lot more appointments for the work and there was a lot of odd jobs. By week 3 and 4, it was, how do I do all this work?
So Corban, thank you very much for joining us today on the Gyms podcast. Now, we caught up with you originally when you were at training, so people might recognize your face on that clip, and you're obviously pumped up and ready to go. And so how's the business been for you so far, from leaving from Melbourne to where you are now?
Yeah, there was a bit of downtime before I actually got into it, and it was a bit of I just kicked it into touch, so I'll get to it eventually, obviously, and did my training. But I did training as a due diligence on my part, and I was happy, stoked. Now, when I pressed go, my franchisor and I, we went go, I had been pre-warned that it ramps up pretty sharp. And so that first week was pretty exciting. I was having lunch with a friend just the first day. And as I looked, my first day, I'm about to get some calls. And sure enough, I had a text message come through. And it just started drip feeding in, and then it just became a torrent. And the amount of work that's come my way it's been amazing. It's been overwhelming. Actually, but I've met the demand and I've had, as I said in my first interview, a lot of fun along the way. So that's true.
Right, yeah, I had a look at your notes before and I'll go through them a little bit just to see how you're going and stuff. And Robert Young, one of his notes is Corban is kicking ass, ! So getting a lot of work and doing well, which is fantastic to hear.
Oh, completely. It's, So everything that has been said to me about this has come true. And more in terms of my expectation. I really went into this with fairly healthy expectation about how good business could be, but yeah, it's really good. Yeah,
because your IT background before. So how have you found transitioning from that into this with completely new skills?
So it's funny. I've reflected about this because my background, my father, blue collar, owns a mechanic workshop, and I grew up around tools, machinery, and this sort of thing. And that's kind of in my blood. That's what I've been used to. And then somewhere along the way, the white collar pathway was sold to me. And, I've had my mix of factory work. Now, coming from that pathway of, I did some education and IT, I love the people aspect of that. But now I get to combine that with other skills that I've always had all along. And it's been really exciting to be able to transition. There's a real satisfaction in making with your hands. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can understand that, but it's true. When you do it for a living, hey, it's really rewarding.
Because you get to see that job from start to finish very quickly, or it might take a week or two, whereas if you're working in the office and stuff, you might be working on something which you see no point to, or you never see any results from it, and there's all the politics to deal with and all that other stuff.
Oh, completely. Yeah, I think of projects that I had with overseas agents that I used to deal with, and it was just like a big waste of time. You turn up, you put all this effort in, all the notes and everything else. So, I mean, with respect to the joys of the corporate life, it just doesn't compare. It's very different. It's very different life doing handyman stuff from corporate IT. So, yeah, very rewarding.
And what type of jobs have you been doing in your business? Is there any, have you been doing a bunch of small renos, decks? What sort of stuff have you been doing?
There's been a lot of property management work. So you get a lot of properties. Like I was just at one today, very tight, hasn't been touched in 20 plus years. And the walls need doing, the carpets need doing. And what I've found is there's a lot of work I've picked up both as the doer, but also the project manager as well. So just bringing a lot of people under the umbrella and smashing through some pretty big tasks. So a lot of paint work, there's a lot of fixings of windows, a lot of cupboard repairs, kitchen repairs. Yeah. Laundry, putting holes in walls, putting things up. Yeah, it's a lot of flooring jobs, replacing rotten chipboard. Yeah, there's been a huge range of stuff. And outside, we've gone through winter, so the outside has been a little bit hard with the weather of painting, but I've got a lot of work booked out, ready to go. Actually, tomorrow it's a nice day here today, so I'll probably capitalize on opportunity there. A huge range of stuff, huge range.
That's great. And I was going to say as well with you, so you said project management, so you're dealing with the property manager in a way, and they like going to you because you can then just organize everything else and you can be the one point of contact for them with all these different pieces. How does that is that mainly what you find yourself doing, or are you doing on the tools a lot more yourself, or how does it work in your business?
Yeah, I mean, every opportunity stands on its own. I'd say the project management side usually it's where someone has a problem and I'm the bridge. So I'll bring in the plumber and the flooring guys to work together in a project. And so that's kind of where I have been brokering between it all. And it's fairly good. I get to deal with the people. I think they like dealing with me, and I've just sort of kept up good relationships there. Yeah, but I'd say that's definitely a smaller part of what I'm doing. There's a lot of me on the tools most of the time, but I mean, it's at the stage where I need to employ someone. At least I've been using a lot of subcontractors for work, but I really need my own guy to be able to fill the void and go nuts.
That's great. I was going to say as well, how was your first week? Like you mentioned, you got the lead day one, but how was the first couple of weeks like for you? Because it's a bit of a shock. You go from employment, you get the fortnightly pay or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden there's a realization, I'm not in that at the moment. This is on me. So how was that first couple of weeks like?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It's a bit scary that you have to make it happen. It's on you, and I did have a little bit of savings put aside because, I know this is nothing is guaranteed. The only guarantee that I've had with gyms is the opportunity. And each opportunity that I've taken, I've managed to, as going through quoting and converting and doing the work, it's, as you say, the mindset, it's completely different. And yeah, but I'd say the first week was pretty casual is probably what I'd describe. The second week was a lot more appointments for the work, and there was a lot of odd jobs. By week 3 and 4, it was, how do I do all this work? There's so much stuff that came in, and it's good problems.
How did you go with quoting? Because quoting seems to be a common for new franchisees, can be a bit difficult, and it's sort of a bit of a trial and error. So how was your quoting originally, and have you adjusted based on that? Is it just something you need to get in there and learn? And how did you go with that whole process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I realized that my position in the market by my original pricing, let's say, was too low value for what I was offering. I mean, everyone wants everything for free. People want you just turn up and do stuff. But what I mean by that is I realized that the opportunity and the people that are willing to do business with myself were more than happy to engage for a little bit here and there. It was nothing to them. But the quoting side, generally speaking, in my mind had what I would like to earn across a certain period of time, plus materials. And I just threw numbers out there, and a lot of them were sticking. And it was a fair relationship. We said yes, and went from there. But I'd say I'm probably picking up about at least 70-80% of my business. I don't get turned down. It's pretty consistent. And the beauty about this as well is I might read the room of some poor widowed lady and just realize, hey, I'm not trying to take money from this lady, but I want to help her. So I can adjust my pricing, and I feel good about that too, because, hey, look, I'm helping someone and they appreciate it. So yeah, it's really on me what I want to charge or not. Yeah, so far people are receiving quoting fairly well.
I'm glad you said the percentages. Yeah, 70-80% is around right. There's a lead fee discount, generally 15-20% built into, for those people who might just be purely chasing a price or something like that. So I'm glad you said that as your win percentage, because that's a good area. And I know that Jim says if you do win too many jobs, keep raising your prices until you get knocked back a few more times. So how did you go with the your pricing confidence, or how did you gauge yourself initially? Like, was it just, how did you do that research to know? Because you're coming from something completely unrelated. Like, how did you know? Was you purely just charging an hourly rate for your labor, then plus materials, or how were you working out that pricing originally?
Yeah, so in a former life, we used to have a structure of base plus a variable. So there's always a fixed plus a variable rate. Now, in some ways, it's kind of what I was advised of what the other handymen were doing in the area. So there was a call out fee, plus there was the first hour. So that was my base sort of adjustable where I started. But in terms of the job, like if it's, you can't get out a builder or someone to do a very small job, they typically base their rates across 2, 3, 4 weeks of work. And this is kind of the niche of the space where we fill in. So we not only can we do the job, we're willing to do the job. A lot of these guys are unwilling to do the job. Yeah. So I think there's just this happy medium of realizing, yeah, I might in my mind have a business rate per hour of what I'm trying to achieve. And so that's kind of there. My time is worth X for this job. And then just with materials, if there's procurement, there's a slight margin on the materials there. It's adjusted. And every case is different. But I'd say I started lower and started adjusting to where I think there's about a fair amount of the market who's going to receive me well.
I'm going to say, you're happy with the level of income your business is making. You don't have to say how much you're making, but are you happy with what you're bringing in?
Absolutely. Yes. My third I won't say the figure, but my third month was more than I think what most beginning salaries were.
Oh, wow.
When I started back in the, way back
Yeah.
10 years of working, it was like, wow. And the amount of posted business that I had was incredible. Granted, there were deposits for the month following, so there was a bit of a mix of things, but I think my biggest struggle is been keeping up with the admin of all the work. And so, yeah, it's been a good income level for the business. And it's such that as I'm taking home what is just sort of a humble salary, I'm looking to reinvest what is coming in back into the business with another work vehicle so I can employ my first person.
And the admin side can be a struggle for people if you're trying to do everything yourself. And a lot of times it doesn't bring people the joy. The joy is doing the work and stuff. And then you got to come home and do all that stuff. So it is quite a common thing. Yeah. Have you considered using a VA or anything like a admin VA or someone like that to help you? Or?
So I've got a gem, Kelsey. Hi, Kelsey. Kelsey has been with one of the other guys, a couple of the other guys for the Gems Handyman network. And it was just a natural thing to pick her up as doing a lot of my admin. She handles a lot of my initial queries. She builds together the jobs and my scheduling.
It's great.
And there's a whole range of extra stuff I could get her to do if I wanted to. And I think naturally I'll get her to do more of that. So yeah, without that help, I don't think I could do this. It's more than one person.
Because what a lot of people do is they might see a cost, or they might go, I don't have the time to train someone for that. But the amount of time you save by putting some money into it or hiring some person plus training him short term will free you up all that long term. And I think a lot of franchisees sometimes struggle with that, and it can get a bit overwhelming, and that's when complaints start coming through and stuff like that. And then when they get the support, because I know some of the Aussie guys who I talk to, they go, geez, I should have done it, from the amount of money I pay them compared to what I can now actually make with that freer time. It's an absolute no-brainer.
I completely agree. Yep.
Is this an admin person you share amongst the franchisees, or who's this person? Sorry, Kelsey?
Yeah, Kelsey. So she started off with one of the local guys as a full-time, I believe, and part-time, full-time. And their words, worked herself out of a job because she's put all these systems and things in place. So she's really, really good at what she does. And she just put it out there to a lot of our franchise, as we have our meetups every 6 weeks. She said, hey, I'm Kelsey. This is what I do. And I just thought, no-brainer. So I brought her on as quick as I could and haven't looked back. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. So bottom line, help is it's a small price to pay. It's an investment. It really is.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing you said that. And I think a lot more franchisees in the divisions that I know of, you might have 8 or 7 employees, and there's a lot to do. So I think just getting someone like a Kelsey on your team, these sort of people are out there, they're really good quality people as well, and they can help your business out. I think it's just a no-brainer.
Completely. Yeah, 100%.
Now, what do you like about working for yourself? Now, it might sound like a very obvious question. How's it been? Because obviously, the dream of being a franchisee is like, be your own boss, give the boss a flick, small business, all that sort of stuff. How's it actually married up for you in terms of what you've been doing?
Obviously, as an employee, you're accountable to a few parties, and namely your line managers and your bosses and that sort of thing. And it's not a cloud that hangs over you, but when you're self-employed, you are answerable to no one apart from your customers. And so the customers, therefore, are my boss. I work for them. And I think the dynamic there is such that, we have to establish a good relationship, good rapport. And as we get into work and walk around the job afterwards, my delight out of that is to see, hey, this is awesome. Thank you for doing this. Or, problem solved. And so that dynamic of just simple joy between people, 2 different people who volunteered for this business, to me that doesn't feel like a work environment. It's just more natural. It's something you do in the community. I find that quite different. But working for myself, I guess because I've built up a bit of a buffer to start, and I've got a buffer on my business account just there, I don't stress about this anymore. Some people might spend everything that they earn as they earn it. And obviously that is a trap of poverty. It's not a good thing if anyone does that. I've had to withhold the temptation of say, well, this money's sitting there. What do I do with that? Do I go on holiday and da-da-da? But, rainy days come, but it's not a rainy day right now for me in the business. I just got to keep reinvesting, keep establishing. Yeah. Relationships is a great part of what I do.
With customers as well, they want you there. You're there to help a problem. Whereas, if you're an employee, you're working, there's a lot of anxiety. You might get late emails and calls and stuff, which I know I do. But I was going to say with you're there to help the customer. They want you there to solve a problem. So it's completely different relationship when you're going there on
Yeah.
site. You're there to help them, and I think that's a good thing as well with what you guys do.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, beyond what we do as an outcome, I'm selling trust to people as well, which is what I find. So when I quote a job and I may have a subcontract up my sleeves for a particular role or something to do, I've had customers specifically say, hey, I'll wait until you are free, until you can come back and do it on your own time. So in that way, it's a trust model. It's that relationship thing again, which I think is the foundation of what I'm doing.
You hear about customers regarding the Jim's Handyman brand. So Jim's Mowing's pretty well known in New Zealand, but what about the Jim's Handyman brand? What are you sort of hearing, or are you getting customers who have tried independence before, they don't rock up to quote, but you rock up in uniform, and just what are the differences you're hearing about the brand with what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a strong brand. People know about Jim's and Jim's Mowing. With the Handyman side, I think there's still a real freshness to the brand. It's still quite a new thing. And so when people say, oh, I didn't know that Jim's did this or did that, it's sort of I think there's an open-mindedness that people have about it. But I think people come with that positive understanding about what Jim's Mowing is all about. So when it comes to Jim's Handyman, they go, oh, hey, you must be equally as good. But also, if I'm in the uniform and the truck, which I seek to keep clean as much as possible, so it's not dirty, it's well groomed on the outside, not the inside, different story. But yeah, I think it leaves a good impression, and it's a good start to that conversation when I talk to the customer about their problem.
And I did an interview with Mark yesterday, Mark Reynolds in Handyman as well, and he was telling me some stories about customers tell him, just people don't rock up when they're supposed to. They rock up to look at the job. They don't send me a quote at all. Where he was saying with him, just the basic things that he does, like sends a quote within 24, 48 hours, rocking up in uniform, nicely signed vehicle, and just those basic things. But that seems to be a massive difference, or it massively important to customers for winning those jobs.
Yeah, I think so. It's a polished, packaged trust. I think that people, when you pick up the phone within a quick, I spoke to a customer last week and I hadn't heard from him for 2 months, but because I got on the phone to him within 5 minutes of his query, that impression that I left on him, and unfortunately he had a miscarriage as he opened up to me a bit later. But because I was on the front foot, came out, saw him, greeted him, and left a good impression with whatever the total package of what Jim's offered him, that's what he called upon when it was ready. And that was a good impression that we left on him.
Has there only been jobs so far that stood out to you? Like, as you mentioned, the lady you helped out before, has there been any sort of standout customers or any types of jobs where a customer might have really needed something and you've helped them out, or anyone stand out in that sort of regard?
Yeah, I remember this one customer probably 6 to 8 weeks ago. She just couldn't get anyone to come out and cut out some shelves for her kitchen cupboard, just the pantry. Just couldn't get anyone out. And Jim's Handyman, hey, what do you need? Cool. We went through the qualifier. She sent some photos in and I said, hey, look, I think I can get this done for this much. And she was raving afterwards. Oh, I'm so grateful. And it was like I really made her day. And I that was a late one for me. I remember I left that particular job around 6:30. But it left an impression on me because I really apparently helped her out. And that was one particular one. It wasn't a hugely expensive job for her, but she was really stoked by the outcome.
Great to hear. And I was going to say as well, now with being in business for now, someone who's a new franchisee or someone who's looking just to do small business in general, what's some advice that you would tell them, that you'd tell yourself back when you started?
Learn wisdom from other people who've done it before you. So don't make mistakes that others make inevitably. I think everyone who's busy ends up falling over and tripping over their own feet.
Yep.
So therefore, back to the help, get the help early. Or if you don't need it now, get those people ready for when you do need the help. You can just call them up and say, hey, now's the time. Because in this business, it's guaranteed beyond the person. It's way more than one person. So if you're looking to grow and develop a bit of leadership and a bit of delegation and let go and build that little ecosystem of yourself, you've got to have that stuff ready. Also, I'd say a business mentor of some kind, someone who's either in the same field, who's doing really well, someone who's been in business for a while. I think having that mentor, that someone to be able to listen to and bounce off thoughts. One comment can really set you in the right direction. Figuring it out by yourself, it's too much of a burden. So with other people, it's a lot easier.
It's a great point, and I think a lot of people are very proud, or they don't want to ask for help, or they might, they don't like doing that. They can get themselves in a bit of a mess, as you just said then. So it's great to hear that from you in regards to an ecosystem of yourself as well. And, people should have a good accountant. They should have a business mentor, as you said. And all these, you're right. You're this little thing here where you've got these support people around you, which can help you with what you need. So let's just talk real quickly about the gym support. So how's the support from, I know Robert's the franchisor there and other franchisees been for you?
Well, it's because of their, I would say, the forerunners of the other franchisees. I have loosely based what I'm doing off them. So it's kind of like a natural blueprint to say, well, this is what these guys are doing. Great. I'm going to head in that direction. It's not that it's exactly step 1, step 2, step 3. It's more of a general direction. And because of that, I haven't figured out a lot by myself. I feel like I've come in at a good time, let's say. So that's one thing. And with the support my franchisor Robert's been giving me, it's been fantastic. He's helped sort of pick up some thorny situations, or at least just some advice, or hey, what do I do here? He's been able to fill in those points. But really, I feel like I've come in at a good time, and I'm riding the wave of what other people have established.
Yeah, it's because it's a good there's some good businesses there. I met Leon. I think Leon has got a big crew there as well, and there'd be some other people I met who have some pretty decent sized teams, and they're doing a great job with the brand building, getting to know all this great work they're doing for property agents and property managers and stuff to really build that Jim's Handyman brand in isolation to Jim's Mowing. I think that's doing a really good job from what I can see.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it's I think the reputation is now quite established, especially in East Auckland, Central Auckland, and well, the different parts of where we are. And I'm overwhelmed by the amount of queries of business. So in many ways, I'm not trying to turn away business, but I'm saying, look, I just can't get to you until this sort of time. But no, I think that's because of the groundwork of the network of the other Jim's Handymen. And yeah, there's a good reputation for us.
So your next step for you, you said it a bit earlier, but is that to basically put on your first employee, learn from that, and then hopefully keep expanding maybe your employee base to have multiple vans or vehicles on the road? Is that your sort of plan for you in the next couple of years?
Yes is a simple answer, but the way I see it is I'm going to see how I would work as a dynamic between someone else, and just that bounce between, like, hey, look, there's this bigger job here. If you get started, I'm going to come and go throughout the day, and just really see how that dynamic works. And if I feel there are larger jobs that I can ratchet up, then I'll be, maybe that one person might become a crew. So there's 2 guys. I think it's just a wait and see. But before I'm running, I'm definitely jogging. And yeah. So, but definitely we'll start with 1, and we'll see how moving to 2. Whether that's a quick thing or a slow thing, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself.
Do you think you'd be in this position so quickly when you started doing this?
No, not at all. In fact, I could have grown a lot quicker than I have. Like, there's been so much work. It's been, like I said earlier, if I had pieces of the puzzle in place before those demands were there, I think I could have been in a more advanced place to where I am today. But I've also, in balancing all the wisdom I've had around me, I've had to go through my own journey to be able to figure that out as well. So it's a tension, but I'm not disappointed with how much work there is. It's more disappointing if I'm honest, is as the admin demands come on, that's probably where I'm dropping the ball mostly. It's like, how do I keep up with this? And so now I say to customers, look, I can quote you, but it may be up to a week, depending if it's a complex, like bathroom, this, and the other. But generally speaking, it's more than I thought.
That's great to hear. It's really great to hear. And I'm really rapt to meet you in training, obviously, and hear that you're doing really well as well. It's good for us at National and the stuff to see that it marries up and you go away from here. And so how did you find doing the training over here anyway? Because we started up training in New Zealand, but how did you find, looking back now, the training in Australia and going back into your business?
Well, I think it was really good to be able to pick up the culture of what Jim's is all about. And again, with Jim's ethos around customer service, I think if I just didn't hear it from him, or just it was a minor point, I probably wouldn't have picked up the emphasis of what I'm doing. So being there in Melbourne was, I think, part of what put that impression on how I am to be a Jim's Handyman. And it was a really good experience that I took away with me. So yeah, it was a really positive one.
That's great to hear. Thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it. I'll get the call voucher to you as well. As I said it before, it's really good to see someone come from training where we interview you, and then you're in the field doing this. And it's great to hear that it's married up to what you thought it was, and that your business is doing really well. I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing what you can do next. And yeah, but it just stay in touch. It's been great to talk to you today, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, pleasure. Good catching up, Joel.
No, thanks, Corban. Thank you for listening to the episode of the Gyms podcast. If you want to learn more about the Gyms Group, head to gyms.net or call us on 131 546 Australia or 0800 454 654 New Zealand. And if you did like the episode as well, please make sure you leave a review or a comment or a thumbs up or a comment on the video as well. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.